Hi, lovelies. I am Queen Lovely. Welcome back to Melanated Crowns. Today, I want to talk about sexual abuse, especially when it happens to Black women. Okay, this is not to exclude Black men that go through it, because we know Black men do suffer from sexual trauma as well, but Melanated Crowns is specifically geared towards Black women, so I just always want to make sure that they are at the forefront of as many of conversations I have on this channel as possible. Before I start this video, please hit the thumbs up, please subscribe and activate that notification bell so you can know when I post more content such as this, and comment below and engage in the conversations that we're having. Please remember to be respectful. It's okay to agree to disagree. It's okay to disagree, but just be respectful and try to keep the profanity and the mudslinging to a minimum, because I really want to create a safe space here on Melanated Crowns. Thank you. So today I came across this video of a young woman. She's a grown woman actually, but a woman who was sexually assaulted at the age of 16, and she was telling her story. And this is the woman that was allegedly violated by Kenneth Petty. Okay, Kenneth Petty is the husband to rap superstar Nicki Minaj. And the comments disturbed me. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to these cases that come out when a woman accuses a man of sexual assault, I always do my best to refrain from having a definite opinion on whether or not someone did something or not, because I do feel like it's a double-edged sword, right? If you shame the alleged victim, you are feeding into the stigma of why, victims don't like to come forward and share their stories. If you instantly shame the alleged accuser, you are also feeding into the stigma of men that are falsely accused and sent to jail and have their reputation tainted. So I always feel like when these stories come about, it's best that we don't have that knee-jerk and automated pilot, response to defend or tear down someone, and just let it be. Unfortunately, this is the internet. When something hits the internet, a lot of people are programmed to throw their 2 cents in, give an opinion, and because Nicki Minaj is such a polarizing figure, big fan base, it's going to be, it's just not going to happen. She has a very big fan base. She has a loyal fan base, and, they're just going to, feel like, okay, I need to defend my queen or whatever the case may be, right? So I remember when this story came out, I think 2 years ago. This is around the time when Nicki Minaj first started dating him. The woman, it was like the police reports and whatnot. And she had reached out to a few bloggers, and they had, on behalf of her, told the story. So now, allegedly, this audio that is going around is basically her personal account. She's talking about how she's had to relocate. She talked about in detail, like, what that situation did to her on a psychological level, on an emotional level, on a physical level. And she feels like now that her life is in danger because she is refusing to, cooperate in regards to recanting her statement so that he can have that sex offender stigma pulled off of his reputation and his public record. I want to talk about individuals in the comments who are quick to say she is lying. Now, I'm speaking to adults. I'm not talking to the barbs. I'm not talking to teenagers. I'm not talking to underdeveloped individuals who don't have emotional intelligence. I'm talking to adults, okay? Because this is a problem in the Black community when sexual abuse and sexual assault happens, especially in families, and we've all seen it, unfortunately, or heard about it. I don't know not one Black person, and specifically a Black girl, teenager, or woman that does not have a story about themselves being sexually violated or molested, or they don't know somebody who's been sexually violated or molested and it's just been swept under the rug. It's this thing of like, okay, We about to go over to Aunt Bertha's house and make sure you stay away from Uncle Larry because he gets a little touchy and whatnot. And it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be a situation where you have to issue a disclaimer to your kids to stay away from someone who is a known sexual predator. Let's just call it what it is. You know what I mean? We hear so many stories about young women and girls that are molested and raped and sexually assaulted, and they're sent up the road to go live with their aunt or 2 towns over, and their whole life and existence and what they see the world to be has to be jilted and tainted at such a young age by such a traumatic experience, okay? Just so y'all could preserve the good name of the family. And that has to stop. And it triggered me today because I was molested as a child. And I'll never forget, I was friends with this girl. Her name was Kathleen. She was older than me, this white girl. I used to live in Sinking Spring, Pennsylvania. And I remember we was playing house. And I remember we was playing with Barbies, and she was saying something like, if you want to have a kid, you have to have sex to have a kid. And I don't even think I knew what sex was at that moment. Actually, I didn't, because I had the sex talk at the age of 8 and 9. And we could have a conversation about that later as well if y'all want to hear that story. But at this time, I was like 5 or 6 years old, right? And she said, yeah, you have to have sex to have a baby. And I didn't know what that was. And before I know it, she literally was on top of me, dry humping me. And I remember walking around and feeling so guilty and so shamed. And I was just carrying a big burden. And then I finally told somebody about it. And when it made it to my mother, do you know what my mother did? She smacked me and said, you don't do that. You don't do that. That was her first instant reaction, to smack me. Jump ahead now to 25 years ago, like maybe when I was about 17, 18 years old, I find out that from the age of 8, my mother had been sexually molested and assaulted multiple times. Nobody in the family did anything about it. Nobody. I'm being very transparent right now because I just want to show how the cycle of abuse comes about. Nobody did nothing about it. It was swept under the rug. So much so that I'm going to family events being chummy with this person because I'm a child. I don't know no better. And come to find out, this person has been very abusive towards my mother. But that's what you call normalizing trauma. That's what you call being uncomfortable. And being uncomfortable for so long, you learn how to be comfortable in your uncomfortability. And it really could fuck with your psyche. So when I see people under this lady's story calling her a liar and all types of names, I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. I don't know what happened, and I wasn't there. And it's okay if you're like, well, there's lots of men who take a plea deal and they end up on the sexual offenders list, etc., etc. It's okay if that's your stance. So because of that, you're not quick to believe her. That's perfectly fine. But if you're not going to be quick to believe this woman, then at least don't be quick to tear her down. Just don't have an opinion about it. Don't have an opinion about it. Because it's damaging on both edges of that sword. Damaging. And I don't know why. It just really triggered me because it just shows how that cycle, that toxic cycle continues specifically in the Black community. This woman is coming out with this very detailed account. And instead of just clicking off, you have to get in the comment section and further twist that knife. It took her this long for her to tell her story. She filed the police report and did all of that. But now she's coming out and telling her story. This woman, this man who allegedly did this to her is the significant other of a mega superstar. And you know what the saying is. It's better to be rich and guilty than poor and innocent. So she has this influence and this money to get attorneys and all types of things. So the everyday person is going to feel intimidated. You know what? Even though I don't like that, she's getting on Instagram and defending her husband. And in the midst of defending her husband, she's indirectly talking down on my character, because I don't think that it's Nicki Minaj's intentions to bury this woman. I just see a woman who's trying to protect her family dynamic. And sometimes when we are so tunnel vision to protect our family dynamics, especially as women, and that's the father of her firstborn child, that's probably the only child Nicki Minaj will have, she just wants to protect something that she's always wanted, which is a family. And she wants to preserve it. And I don't have a problem with Nicki Minaj doing that, because like I said, I don't think it's coming from a negative or an ill intent place. I don't. I just think she is so tunnel vision on protecting something that she has prayed for, manifested, and worked for, and she's unaware of how her intent is impacting this woman. We've all been there, where our intent versus our impact didn't exactly line up with one another. So, I can't really fault her there, right? I just ask that when it comes to the conversation of sexual assault and sexual abuse, we just be a little more gentle and tender, because these things stay with us forever. They stay with us forever. Do you know how it feels to be 5, 6 years old and you tell your mom something that happened to you, and her first thought is to smack the shit out of you and tell you don't do that? Why are you doing that with a girl? That was actually I think the biggest thing. Why are you letting a girl hump you? Because my mother used to be very religious. And she did come back and give me a hug and apologize, but the damage was already done. And it's like to jump ahead and find out what happened to her over and over again by family members, and she was never vindicated or saved or healed from that. I have the tools, okay, and the therapy and the spiritual advisement and the spirit of God in me to be forgiving and have compassion and say, she didn't know. When she was abused and violated, nobody came to her aid. So how does she know how to come to the aid of her kids when that happens? But what I can do, right, is make sure, that I take what I know. And if I have a niece or a cousin or a friend, a daughter, grandchildren one day, whatever the case may be, when they come to me, not repeat those steps. We have to do better. We have to break these dysfunctional cycles, okay? I understand it is a tough pill to swallow when someone in the family commits a crime, especially a sexual act against someone, and you don't want to address that because in addressing this person's behavior, it may overlap into your behavior and something you did that could have offset that. And it could also bring up traumatic. There's a plethora of reasons why sexual abuse and whatnot gets swept under the rug. But someone has to do their work and do their healing so we can stop these cycles. And I just humbly suggest and encourage, don't be so quick to victim shame or victim blame. If you don't have nothing nice to say, let's take it back to the playground. Don't say nothing at all. Because a lot of times when we just fly off the handle with our mouths and say nasty things, it's from an emotional place. Learn how to ask yourself before you open up your mouth and communicate. Is what I'm saying needed to be said? What is the purpose of what I'm about to say? And is it going to yield a positive reaction and result? Learn how to really think and slow down before you speak. I know the internet has made it easy for us to just get on the keyboard and start going crazy, but that does not have to be the reality all the time. Be stronger than what these quote unquote societal norms are subconsciously programming you to be. Overcome that. Really ask yourself, what type of person I want to be? And I get it. Hurt people. But one thing that helps me, and one thing I always suggest to my clients, is you have to feel your feelings and feel your pain and unpack it. Because when you do that and you go out into the world and you have interactions with people and there's little things that remind you of your pain, it will become innate for you to be cognizant not to inflict on someone what was inflicted on you. People, they don't feel their feelings. They don't work through their pain. They don't peel the layers back. And that's why they go out and intentionally and unintentionally hurt people. So that's it. I don't want to make this video too long. I've had to pause a few times. So if you feel like it was like jumping around, I did because I was getting emotional. But I just felt like I had to come on here and talk about that. And I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please hit the thumbs up. Please subscribe, comment below. I'm a full-time entrepreneur. Share this video. And thank you so much for listening and watching.